Hello everybody, I'm Rusty Reed the Turtle Man, and this is a really cool story I got for you. Alright, I've spent over half my life chasing snapping turtle stories with my primary focus as alligator snapping turtles. For 35 years now I've been obsessed with alligator snapping turtles by choice, but I grew up around common snapping turtles in the state that I live in. So this is a story about a common snapping turtle and a very uncommon snapping turtle. About a year ago, a guy named Bill Martinson reached out to me and he said, "My name's Bill Martinson. I've got a common snapping turtle that I've had for 30 years that weighs 60 pounds that we've raised as a family member that has never bitten out at anyone." I couldn't wait to meet this guy, and as soon as I did, a relationship was born. Now this story is about Snappy, the uncommon snapping turtle, and it's also about bringing people together to focus on a turtle and a man. After I met Bill and we came together with Greg Wittstock, the pond guy, and Ed, the pond professor, and myself, and we upgraded his indoor swamp. Follow along in this story as I show you the build of a lifetime for me. This was a really cool event, and walked away looking at a beautiful indoor swamp that was a piece of art, a creation for Snappy, the uncommon snapping turtle.
Wow.
Isn't that something, Greg?
Wow, that's the biggest common snapping turtle I have ever seen. Holy cow, you had him since he was a quarter, huh?
So in my conversations with Bill, it had become clear that it was time to upgrade Snappy's enclosure. What had been more than enough for a smaller turtle hadn't grown with the turtle. And the filtration system was old school. It was old concept, more of a mechanical filtration system. It had aeration and filtration, but it looked like a perfect opportunity for me to incorporate the BioFalls system by Aquascape. So we started to take measurements to see just how big we could fit in this house. In the 35 years that I had been building the Blackwater Turtle Refuge, I was fortunate enough to have found a local company that was manufacturing the largest rotary molded tanks in the United States. And they weren't far from our place. Many years ago, the Asman Corporation had taken an interest in our Blackwater Turtle Refuge and had been an excellent source to supply us with large tanks to help us build our facility. And when I explained Snappy's situation, they jumped on board to help with this. You took good measurements. This is going in, right?
Yeah, well, God, I hope so.
And with the help of Bill's son welding up the angle iron framework that needed to reinforce the outside of the tank, and also the help of many strong men, the tank went right into the house. Well, let's just back this up a second. Is that Ed, the pond professor I see there from Aquascape? How could Snappy be so lucky? And how did that happen? Earlier in the year, I had met Bill Martinson and Snappy. Bill took the time to bring Snappy down here to the Blackwater Turtle Refuge and introduced himself and Snappy to us, and we just loved him. We loved them both. And I created a YouTube video. I believe it was about a 3-minute video, and it aired, and in 4 minutes Greg Wittstock called and asked us if we could get Bill and Snappy up to Pandemonium with us this year. And to Pandemonium we went. Snappy spent the day at Pandemonium just walking around Aqualand. He was a huge hit. People just loved him. He's so tame and lovable. This is the most tame and lovable snapping turtle I've ever seen. At that point, Greg and I had talked over the habitat that Snappy had outgrown, and of course Greg, loving turtles, stepped up and said, "We've got to build him a pond." And I knew at that point that Snappy's life was getting ready to change. So with the tank in position and located in the walkout basement of Bill's house where the old habitat had been, it was time to start rounding up the supplies. Earlier in the year, I had ordered and received the pump, the BioFalls system, with guidance from the team at Aquascape on which one would be proper for this, and I was off to the quarry to locate sand, round up a tree with a stump still fastened to it, and the date was set for Ed and I to start in on this project, and I couldn't wait. And I stood there looking at this large empty tank, and it was sure neat when Ed jumped in and started to explain how we were going to take this large empty tank and turn it into an ecologically balanced piece of artwork that this turtle was going to live in. And once Ed was done explaining the game plan, it was time to get to work. So I went outside to unload the tree, got some help from Bill and his son, and that's when we realized the block of sand in the back of the truck was froze solid, which made it pretty difficult to get out of the truck. But Bill has a small Bobcat, and we were able to unload it with that and drive it right into the walkout basement and dump the sand right into Snappy's new tank. While Bill was busy unloading the sand and moving it from the truck into Snappy's tank, I was drilling long holes through these tree trunks that Ed had brought. We used wire ties to fasten them down to cement blocks, and at the other end we've mounted them to the aqua blocks that the BioFalls would be sitting up on. This would hold the stumps in place, keep them from floating, and we got to realize we have a large turtle in there bulldozing things around. Ed sat the BioFalls 2500, which was the perfect size for this 1750 gallon tank, on top of aqua blocks to raise it up so that it could fall, so that there was also a drain higher than the water level for us to do the back flushes on this filter in the future. Drilling those holes through the tree trunks and using those long wire ties really worked well. I'll be using that idea in the future. I believe we used around 200 pounds of river rock around the outside of the BioFalls to cover up the aqua blocks and to help anchor that BioFalls into position, again for this large bulldozing turtle. Ed is a meticulous craftsman of recreating what nature does on its own, but it's definitely an art. It's an obsession with this guy, and I really enjoyed watching it happen. You got to remember, I'm working with one of the best here in that field. Every rock had to be perfectly placed and thought about, looked at. There's definitely the training that these people receive at Aquascape is unmatchable in seeing things that most people just take for granted, look at, and don't really see it as deeply as these guys do. As we worked into the night, I knew that we weren't going to quit until this thing was the piece of art that Ed held in his mind when he stood back and looked at it. He seen it finished. I seen the progress. So somewhere around 11 o'clock at night, in came the tree. And this doesn't even look easy in the video, and it was hard. It barely fit in, scraping the ceiling on the way, and it was a really neat touch though. I'm so glad that I brought that. I'm glad that when the wind blew it over, that I took the time to save the roots and the stump and the tree itself. This actually is a tree that I planted here at the Blackwater Turtle Refuge 35 years ago. It was about 3 inches tall. Now this is a monumental moment. This is an incredible home that this 30-year-old turtle that Bill has been raising since he was a hatchling is now moving into the next phase for the next 30 years.
Here you go, buddy. I'm going. Here we go. Whoa, almost tipped over. I'm going. Here we go. Whoa, almost tipped over. Are you stuck? There we go.
And there it is, a habitat fit for a king. Or a 30-year-old snappy turtle that spent its whole life never having snapped at anyone. I really enjoyed working on this project. I enjoyed working with Ed, the pond professor. I'm so grateful that I've realized how important it is to work with others and to pool resources and to just go out and love what you do. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Follow along while I take this snapping turtle journey I've been on for the last 35 years. It's not over. Snappy's Pond Build Reveal 2 will be coming out when there's warmer weather. I want to show you the biological system that takes place as it grows and time goes by. We're going to need some warmer weather. Snappy's going to come out of brumation. I'm going to do some underwater filming, so that'll be a Snappy Pond Build Reveal number 2. Be sure to subscribe. With over half my life spent experiencing alligator snapping turtle adventures, I'm Rusty Reed, the Turtle Man.
I love my job.